Hi, and welcome to the Our Time to Rise in Midlife podcast. Today is the first Tuesday of Advent. It started a few days ago. No matter when you're listening to this, you can remember that Advent is the series of weeks leading up to Christmas. It is the time of expectation, of waiting, of anticipating the Messiah. And Krista and I almost every year that we have done this podcast have done at least one episode on Advent. Why? Because it is our annual reminder that we are waiting on hope. We are waiting on God's goodness to arrive in the form of the Christ child. And this is good news. Today, I am going to be talking about Advent this year in 2025, this timeless tradition of remembering that Christ has come and that he will come again is especially relevant this year. It's relevant every year. And so no matter the episode, some of our past episodes have been a little more on the practical side, on celebrating the holidays and making them manageable and remembering what's important as we do our celebrations. But every year we try to remember that the Christmas season can be difficult. It can feel like a season of grief more than celebration. And I would say that if you are listening to this podcast, likely you live in the United States, likely you are a woman who is in midlife in some capacity, that you are older than 35, younger than 70. I know that's a really big window of midlife, but somehow in this time period and stage of life. And likely you are experiencing some grief about the state of the world. Even today, I'm recording a week before this airs. Even today, there were headlines about policies, really, that break my heart, that make me wonder, how are we loving our neighbors right now? And even today, I read comments on things online and I wonder, how are we loving our neighbors? And so this is a reminder, this episode, that Advent and remembering and anticipating the coming of Christ is relevant. So how do we celebrate Christmas when the world feels overwhelming? Or life? Maybe it's not the larger culture. It's not the larger news cycle. It's your actual circumstances feel hard. I think it starts by going back to the why. Why do we do this in the first place? I know this sounds really basic, but Christmas can get tied up in so many extras. The things that can make it fun, the traditions, and also the expectations. And we can get so tied up in those things that we forget why we celebrate Christmas in the first place. Why do we? We do because we need the hope that is offered in the Christmas story. I have probably said on past episodes, because I often say this when I'm speaking about Christmas, that there are a lot of things that happened in Jesus's life. There are a lot of things that happen in Scripture, in the arc of the human story that is laid out in the Bible, that we don't remember every year. Even the other day, I was listening to a story and I was like, I don't know that I've ever really paid attention to that detail. But Christmas is something that we do celebrate every year because we need the annual reminder that Jesus came. He came during a very hard time in history, and he changed the trajectory of the human story, of humanity's story. He came to provide hope. And because the world is not as it should be, and we may be feeling that more this year, because of that, we need this annual reminder. And so that is why we celebrate Christmas every year. I will say I need this reminder every year because I have a short-term memory issue. I need every year to sit for weeks at a time to remember that God came because he loved us. And he came in this very unique way, in a very humble way, to a young woman who was probably a teenager, betrothed to an older man. So they weren't even married. So there was some scandal involved. He could have come any way. And this also, side note, was not the way people expected him to come. They expected someone to come over and take over with power. He came as a baby under very humble circumstances and left this world in a humble way. And now we wait for his return. So here are some things that help me in the remembering. Certain Christmas music that celebrates who Christ is and that he came. Having a nativity up in my home or multiple. I know people that collect nativities from around the world, and I think that's an especially profound way to remember that Christ came for every culture and every place in the world. So having that representation up in your home is a visual reminder. Daily scripture readings. There are all kinds of Advent Bible readings out there that you can find that are free. My current favorite Advent book is Celebrating Abundance by Walter Brueggemann. So this is a book that has daily readings. They take less than 5 minutes to read. And last year, I will say this book was profoundly helpful to me as I considered very hard circumstances for both individual people I knew. I had a friend from work. He lived and worked in another state who was a single dad. He had adopted his 2 kids and he was dying of a brain tumor during Advent last year. And this book helped me put into perspective that grief. I also had some actual neighbors that lived across the street that were experiencing some very hard circumstances. And this helped me put the state of the world into perspective. So my recommendation for reading this Advent season is Celebrating Abundance. It's easy to find on Amazon. It's under $10. Go find it. Okay, here's something really basic. Go to church. I will confess, we don't make it to church every Sunday. It's a rhythm I would like to have on a more regular basis, and life gets in the way, partly because of my work, but partly because of our family. But sitting in church with other people who are searching for hope is a really physical way to be present in community and to remember that we have access to good news. And then I would say go outside, because God's creation is a great reminder that we are part of a larger story. And pray while you're outside, out loud or quietly. Walk and pray. And if you're in a part of the world where it's cold right now, feel that cold air on your face and ask God to wake you up to the truth of who he is in your actual world, in your physical space, in your community that you're walking around in. So I would say go outside and pray. We, as I mentioned, have lots of episodes in our library of the Our Time to Rise podcast. So a few episodes that are just about remembering the Christmas story that could be helpful. Episode 311, Christmas is Coming, and episode 105, Loving My Actual Christmas, are both just me and Krista talking about Christmas and what it means to us and how we enter into the Christmas story. Okay, so what if this year the world feels especially painful and hard? The headlines of the day reinforce the suffering of the world. How do we celebrate when we know that others are hurting? We remember who Jesus is and who we are and who we aren't. We are not the savior of the world. He is. And when we put ourselves in that human right place, it gives us some perspective and allows us to exhale a little bit. It is not our job to solve all of our neighbors' problems. That doesn't take us out of responsibility for contributing to solutions for 1 or 2 or 3 of our neighbors' hardships. So I would say we give our time, talent, and treasure to one thing this Christmas. Choose one place where you commit to serving your neighbors in one new or different way, and commit to that. And then also commit to giving your time, talent, and treasure in one new or different way in 2026. So it's kind of that shorter term and that more midterm commitment that you're going to make, because what you're doing is you're saying, I am taking the responsibility, I am taking the blessings God has given me, and I am sharing them with my neighbors. And that blessing may be a skill set. It doesn't have to be money. It can be. It could be an extra bedroom in your house. It could be an extra car in your driveway. Or it could be simply the time to go and sit with someone once a month in 2026. You decide, you pray through it and ask God, because we have a responsibility to each other. God has made us to love him and to love our neighbors. And at the same time, we have to recognize our own humanity, which means we have limitations and we can't be all things to all people. That's Jesus's job. So today, as I'm recording this is the week of Thanksgiving. I have extra hands at home this week. Today, some of my girls are going to help me pack holiday boxes for a group of students at CU Boulder that I support. They are my one group that I have committed to supporting in 2025 of people outside of my work and my family commitments. And they are young adults that have aged out of foster care or were homeless or are for some reason independent from their families that attend CU Boulder, where my daughter graduated from in May and my second daughter still attends. And it feels like, okay, this is the population that I can commit to say yes to, because in the Venn diagram of my life, of what I know a lot about, which I'm learning more and more about foster care and more about young adults who are aging out, with the Venn diagram of the actual circles I'm in, and the University of Colorado in Boulder is one of those because I send my children there and I'm there a lot, that there's an overlap with this particular group of students. And so I have said, this is my yes. So decide in the Venn diagram of your life where there is some overlap, where there are some people who could use some of your time, talent, or treasure. Where can you say yes to them? Okay. And we practice gratitude for what we have. That's one way that we can celebrate. We want to give God thanks for ways that he's blessed us when we know other people may not be blessed in the exact same ways. And perhaps we choose to fast from something as a way to pray for our neighbors. We don't have to give up gifts. For example, if our budget is the same as it has always been and we've been a gift-giving family, but perhaps we do. Perhaps we say this year we're not going to do stockings or something symbolic that we have done as a family. We're not going to go to that concert where we spend X number of dollars, and we're going to dedicate those funds to help our neighbors in a particular way. We're going to redirect those resources, and maybe it's time. Maybe it's, instead of going to this concert, we're going to do something with our time that helps support our neighbors. And we're going to use that time to pray. This is a practice that is good for our souls, to recognize when we sacrifice our time, talent, and treasure on behalf of someone else, that we grow closer to the heartbeat of God. And that's what we want during this season. And that's what's going to help get us through 2026. When we take something away, it provides space to put in something else. And that something else could be using funds or our time for prayer or service, or our talent. Instead of being exhausted, creating a feast that maybe you've done for your family, you want to cook for somebody else. Taking something away that you normally do gives space to offer that time, talent, and treasure to someone else. I want to point you to a sermon I listened to this week. I was there in the sanctuary when Pastor Robert Jelinas here in Aurora, Colorado, at Colorado Community Church, gave a sermon this Sunday. I'm going to link to it in the show notes, and it will link to their sermons page. And you're looking for the supporting cast part 6. He's doing a series on maybe those people in the Bible we don't spend a lot of time paying attention to. And in this particular sermon, he talked about the double bind that many of us feel right now as American Christians, that the political system is putting on us, that we don't feel like we have good options. And it is a reminder that we are not beholden to a political party. We are beholden to God's kingdom, and that his laws and his rules and his ethics are what we have to answer to. And so if you are you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I guess, by the political rhetoric right now, if you're feeling politically homeless, like I have felt for most of my adult life, this is a great reminder. So I'm going to link to that sermon because it has fed my soul this week, and I think it could be an encouragement to you. Some other episodes in our archives that could be helpful to you are from last year, episodes 480 through 483. We did a series on Advent, on the themes and how We can look for more love, hope, peace, and joy in our world. So if you're looking for some practical handholds as far as how do we cultivate more of those things this Advent season, just go to what we did last year. That could be helpful. Okay, so we talked about what if we feel overwhelmed? What do we do with our feelings, maybe of guilt, if the world and our neighbors are experiencing suffering that we are not? But what if you are the one that is hurting this Christmas season? How do you move forward in that? And again, these are not unique ideas, but here is what I say to you, my friend. If you are hurting right now, ask Jesus to come near, because that's what Christmas is about. Be gentle with yourself in this grief and this pain, because he is gentle with you. And if you think Christmas is supposed to be, and then fill in the blank with whatever that statement is. And if that's supposed to be is something happy and joyful and pretty and neat and tidy, let me remind you that Jesus did not come for the people who have it all together or the circumstances that are perfect. He came for just the opposite. And that is what Christmas is about. That Jesus came for the hurting and the suffering, that he came to make all things new, to heal wounds, to free the slave. So perhaps you're feeling enslaved right now by your circumstances or by addiction or by loneliness. This is why we celebrate Christmas, because Jesus came for these pain points. He didn't come for a Hallmark movie or for cookie decorating. That's not in the Bible. What is that he came because he wanted to be with us in our grief, to meet us here, and then he wanted to rescue us from it. So ask Jesus to feel near, because he already is near. He is already with you. Ask for eyes to see him and a heart to be open to his comfort. I would say to name your limitations this year. A lot of people have experienced financial limitations this fall. I think of all of the federal employees and our service members that had a halt on their paychecks, people who had temporary hold on their SNAP benefits, that we are aware, perhaps more than ever, of the financial limitations around us, but maybe that is you. So name your limitations. Maybe it's a physical limitation. I can't do the things I used to do to make the Christmas magic happen like I used to. Name those. Maybe it's emotional. Boy, I can feel that. Sometimes, some years, I do not have the emotional capacity. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, to deal with the people in my life that maybe cause some emotional pain. Name that limitation. And maybe you need to name that limitation to yourself, but maybe you also need to name it to other people. But be kind when you name it. This isn't our time to be fighting about boundaries, but it is an invitation to slow down, and we can be clear and kind at the same time. Okay, so during this Advent season of anticipation, accept God's invitation to slow down. And remember that those things that you think maybe should be part of Christmas are really just social construct. Decorations, food, gifts. If you can't do those things this year because of limitations, you still have access to the real reason for this season. So be glad in that, and we can celebrate that together. One episode that might be helpful for you this season is 434, Reconciling Heartbreak and the Holiday with Jamie Nato. It's a good one that we recorded a few years ago. And then specifically, what do you do if you are missing someone this Christmas season? You know, I say in my book, Loving My Actual Christmas, that the things that cause us pain all year long feel especially painful over the holidays. It's like this spotlight gets put on them. And if you have a broken relationship with someone, or if someone has died and you're missing them terribly, or maybe sometimes during the holidays, it's just your family dynamics have changed and people who used to be home, used to be under your roof, are now doing other things during Christmas. It can feel especially painful. And it's partly because it's this annual marker where we can remember, oh, Christmas 2 years ago, this is who was here and this is what we were doing. We can't really remember that about, like, say, May 17th, but we can about December 25th. And so it brings up some of that pain. So missing someone is one of the biggest griefs of the holidays because it brings up past memories and it brings up all those expectations that aren't being met and our hopes for our relationships, for our future are at the core. So just like with naming limitations, I would say name your grief. It's going to help to say it out loud, to write it down, to say it to a friend, to say, I'm really sad this year that this person is not here. If they are still living and you are in a relationship with them, plan a time to connect on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, do a FaceTime call, or plan a time to be with them in person if you can soon. It's not going to be the same, but it is better than nothing. It is good to know this relationship matters to both of us and we just couldn't be together on Christmas. If they are no longer living and you are missing them and don't have access to them, I sit with you in that grief. Do something that remembers or honors them. Maybe it's you make a special drink or a special food that they love. Maybe you tell a story and ask other people to tell stories about them during this season at some point. Maybe it's putting their picture up in a place that feels really prominent for you as you're doing your celebrating. You don't have to forget them, and other people should not pretend that the pain doesn't exist, so it is okay to bring them up. I give you permission. Mix things up. Sometimes doing the same tradition, it's that annual marker thing, without someone there makes that pain feel that much worse. Guess what? You have complete permission to not do a certain tradition if it's going to cause more grief than joy. So do something new and different and try it. You never know. Maybe it will become something you want to do every year, but maybe it's just something you do this year. Take the pressure off. We have a family that I know through work that has adopted a lot of older kids through foster care. And the thing about kids who have connection and memories to a family of their childhood that maybe was severed, the holidays just bring up a lot of heart because, again, it gets to those hopes and those expectations. It can also bring really difficult, painful memories. So this family I know, they said after 1 year of Christmas and everybody melting down, they realized we have to do something different. And so they do a Christmas morning where they open presents, but they do not give people space to grieve and melt down. They pack up the car and they go somewhere fun on Christmas Day and they spend a couple of nights away. And that is a way that they mix things up. So what's a way that maybe is just small? Instead of going to the same church service you've always gone to, try a different church this year. We've done that. It's actually a beautiful way to visit a new and different congregation in your city. So I'd love to hear. Tell me, message me on Instagram the ways that you're mixing things up this year. Some episodes that might be helpful around this, around missing someone, grieving a person or a relationship during the holidays. Episode 310, Moving Through Grief and Loss at Christmas with Nancy Hicks. It is probably in our top 5 as far as emotionally raw episodes. So be ready for her to go there about grief and loss. And then also episode 507, which we just did this year, Walking with Kids Through Loss and Grief with Clarissa Mole. If your children are experiencing grief in a new way, this can give some ideas about how to support them this Christmas season as they are missing someone. So I really don't have a solution to our pain and to grief this holiday season, except to say that God came for this very reason. He came to be the hope of the world. He made new promises. Jesus brought a new story to humanity. It is not complete yet, and for that reason, we stand in this world that is not as it should be. We are in the not yet part of the story. But he is going to come. He will return. We will be reunited with him. And that is the hope of Christmas. So, my friend, if you are feeling overwhelmed by your grief, by your loneliness, I would love to pray for you. And you can find me through our Instagram handle, the Open Door Sisterhood, which is what our podcast used to be called. Send me a message and I would love to pray for you and the unique hurts of your life this December. And I would encourage you to spend Advent waiting on the hope, remembering that Christ came and that we hold expectation that he will return, and then practice the season of Christmas, which goes through Epiphany, where we have many days to celebrate that Christ came and that he loves us, that we can do both the waiting and the celebrating for the blessings he has given us right now. If you are breathing, he has blessed you with life. And I don't say that to be a band-aid to your grief. It's just that we hold the both and in this life of faith. And this holiday season may be very much a both and for you, that you are experiencing the very real pain that comes with living on this earth, and you are holding the anticipation of hope of Christ's return, which is the journey of the Christian believer. So in that sense, you are right where you should be. I look forward to hearing from you, to hearing how you are mixing things up and hearing how I can pray for you. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas. And remember, it is our time to rise.